Imagine a dense forest, a place untouched by humanity. Two giants stand here among the trees, their forms hulking and awe-inspiring. On one side, the silverback gorilla, king of the jungles. On the other, the grizzly bear, a titan of the wilderness. Today, our question charges in, bold and brash. If these two titanic forces of nature were to meet in a clash, who would come out victorious? We'll need to compare their physical abilities, their raw power, and their behavior. We begin with the mighty silverback gorilla. This creature is a marvel of strength and precision, often considered one of the strongest living beings on Earth, relative to its size. Adult male silverbacks, as the name suggests, are distinct for their beautiful silver fur that runs across their backs, almost like a badge of their dominance within the group. Weighing in at around 300–400 pounds, they carry compressed, sculpted muscle shaped by their life climbing trees, tearing through foliage, and grappling with rivals. The silverback's strength is legendary. It's said that they can lift nearly 10 times their own body weight in ideal conditions. That's like a 2-ton pickup truck being hoisted by sheer willpower. Their arms are their greatest weapons, long, powerful limbs that can stretch out nearly 9 feet from fingertip to fingertip. And they don't just wave those arms about. When silverbacks are threatened, they hammer fists onto their chests, sending shockwaves that can be heard hundreds of feet away. That display isn't just for intimidation, it's a declaration, a challenge to anyone who dares approach. Then, there's the grizzly bear, a beast carved from the icy wilds of North America, where survival hinges on raw power and relentless drive. This bear weighs much heavier than our gorilla. A full-grown grizzly can tip the scales anywhere between 600 to 1,200 pounds, depending on season and food availability. This walking powerhouse is also equipped with muscle, but those muscles aren't confined to battle with just rival bears. A grizzly lives its life hunting, digging, breaking apart logs, crushing bones, all tasks requiring extraordinary strength. Unlike the gorilla, which relies on finesse and agility for its power, the grizzly is armed with pure, brute force. Its claws are enormous, sharp, and built to rip through prey. Each paw, armed with 4-inch talons, is like a finely tuned weapon, capable of mauling prey or turning over massive boulders. And the grizzly's bite force, clocks in at over 1,200 pounds per square inch. To put that in perspective, this bear could easily crush a bowling ball with its teeth. Against something as tough as bone, it's not a challenge, it's a snack. So, before we go any further, let's take a step back and ask, are these two creatures even likely to cross paths? Not really. Silverbacks live in the thick jungles of Central Africa, feeding on fruits, shoots, and plants, while grizzlies roam the temperate forests and plains of North America, gorging on salmon, nuts, and berries. They're worlds apart. But this is a hypothetical fight, isn't it? And when we mash two ecosystems together for the fun of answering ridiculous questions, the possibilities expand. Imagine, for just a moment, a neutral zone. Maybe they meet somewhere in a fictional wilderness, part jungle, part temperate forest, a mix of both worlds. The surroundings fade. Now, there's only the gorilla, the bear, and the question. How might a confrontation unfold? Let's start with the gorilla. Its intelligence, though often undervalued in contests of strength, could give it a notable edge. Gorillas are incredibly clever animals. Tools aren't foreign to them, and strategy is hardwired into their DNA after decades of dealing with group dynamics and threats. They would likely aim to assess a situation first, perhaps probe for weaknesses. But physically, the gorilla's approach in a fight is direct. It would charge, pounding its chest, alluring, intimidating. Their version of psychological warfare. When close enough, it'd aim to grapple its opponent, perhaps land a strike with those powerful arms capable of breaking tree trunks. The grizzly, however, isn't as cerebral, but then again, it doesn't need to be. The bear's sheer size alone gives it an enormous advantage in close combat. You see, grizzlies fight with both claws and teeth. And unlike the gorilla, they've been shaped by actual life-and-death encounters with enemies of all sizes: wolves, other bears, even moose. The grizzly might meet brutality with brutality, rushing in with staggering force, slashing with powerful swipes, capable of dismembering prey or tossing smaller animals like toys. One well-directed swipe alone could prove devastating. Then there's stamina. Gorillas, for all their raw power, aren't built for extended fights. A silverback's muscles, sculpted for bursts of strength, are highly effective for short-term engagement, less so for a drawn-out battle. The grizzly, on the other hand, is built differently. This bear can maintain activity for hours, whether hunting fish or wrestling rivals during mating season. If this fight were to drag on, the grizzly would push through, its endurance unmatched compared to the gorilla's bulk and agility. Now let's talk about defense. Gorillas rely on their speed and their ability to dodge or reposition themselves during conflict. Their thick fur and strong skin can protect them against smaller wounds, but it wouldn't stand up to grizzly claws. Grizzlies, however, are practically walking tanks. Their thick hide and layer of fat provide additional defense against brute strikes, cushioning their internal organs from serious trauma. For the gorilla to land a genuinely damaging attack, it would need unwavering precision. But perhaps the real kicker in this hypothetical clash boils down to mentality. The gorilla is not naturally aggressive. Silverbacks are territorial, yes, and incredibly protective when it comes to their troop. But they aren't fighters at heart. They fight when needed, spar in dominance displays, but they aren't killers. The grizzly bear, this animal can and will kill, routinely in fact. It's a predator whose life revolves around mastering violence for survival. When backed into a fight, it doesn't hesitate. For the bear, there's no moral hesitation, no psychological block. It sees the gorilla as prey, nothing more. So who wins? Well, in most scenarios, it's hard to imagine the gorilla triumphing over the grizzly. The bear's size, arsenal, endurance, and predatory instinct simply outmatch the gorilla's agility, intelligence, and short bursts of power. In a close-range brawl, the bear's claws and bite would wreak havoc before the gorilla could deal any decisive blows, and once stamina comes into play, the fight would be all but decided. But don't let that discourage your reverence for the silverback. This isn't about weakness. It's simply two titans shaped by different worlds. The gorilla rules through intelligence, social power, and physical grace in its element, the jungle. The grizzly, on the other hand, is the ultimate survivalist, a brutal king in a land of predators and prey alike. In the end, these creatures are reminders of nature's brilliance, two paths of evolution leading to two incredible beings, each commanding respect, even if they'd likely never clash in the wild.